Mic check 1 2. I'm just gonna. There's this article that I wanted to share. I actually wanted to share this article since yesterday, um, but um, I didn't get enough information on it to do so. So I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a story that MSNBC has posted, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a back history in it. Let me just share this live to a couple of places. I'm not going to stay very long in this video. I want to encourage you to share this live as well. Just having a little discussion. Quick. Gonna give you the reaction to the video. We're gonna watch it together. I haven't watched this video in its entirety yet, so we're gonna watch it together for the first time if you haven't seen it. All right, so just bear with me for a little bit. Let me just share this around, and then we're going to do that. All right. So there was a situation where yet another black man has lost his life to the hands of law enforcement. So let me give you a bit of a backstory. Okay. Now, what's happening right now is that thousands of people marched to protest police brutality after the death of a gentleman by the name of George Floyd. Now, protesters gather calling for justice for George Floyd, who on Tuesday, which had been yesterday, May 26, 2020, in Minneapolis, 4 officers involved in the arrest of Floyd, a black man who died in police custody, were fired yesterday, which is probably the only good thing about this story. Hours after, a bystander video showed an officer kneeling on the handcuffed man's neck, even after he pleaded that he could not breathe. We're going to get an article from MSNBC about this. We're going to take a look at it. And, we may be dealing with something similar here, although I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. We may be dealing with something similar here in Antigua and Barbuda with someone who may have potentially lost their life at the hands of law enforcement. I don't know that to be true, but it's a speculation at this time with a lot of people. So let's take a look at this.
The mayor of Minneapolis says 4 responding officers in connection with the death of George Floyd have been fired. The mayor added, quote, "This is the right call. George Floyd died in police custody after an officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for at least 7 minutes.
Now, of course, this happened yesterday.
Time and again, we've seen black men die.
Is it just me, or does the mayor of Minneapolis look sort of like Justin Trudeau, the president of Canada? I almost had to double take a while ago.
The hands of law enforcement, or more recently, not law enforcement, for no reason. There will be an investigation conducted into the civil rights violations by the FBI, and I think that was absolutely the right call.
3 words, quote, "I can't breathe." It is sadly familiar to many because it became something of a national protest anthem after Eric Garner, an unarmed black man in New York, had said those words, also caught on tape, repeatedly when a New York police officer was.
Now, this is true. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the same situation happened with Eric Gardner, where he was choked out by the police and he died as well. So, do we need to start relooking at some of these police tactics and so on? Let's get a little more.
Holding him in what was deemed an illegal chokehold before his death.
A few minutes into the video, Floyd stops moving, but the officer kept his knee in place for several more minutes. The police department says the officers were responding to a report of a forgery.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's always weird when you have police responding to non-violent crimes, and it's escalated to the point where somebody loses their life. Now, police were responding, even with the case of Eric Gardner, it was a non-violent situation that they were responding to. With this man, it was a non-violent case that they were responding to. So, it was a non-violent act. And, you've seen some situations where a car is pulled over for maybe not signaling, and the occupants in the car shot by the police. We've seen so much of this in recent times. So it's a non-violent situation that being pulled over for, or he was stopped for, or approached for, and it led to his death. So let's watch some more.
The department says the man was, quote, ordered to step out of his car. After he got out, he physically resisted officers. Officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted that he appeared to be suffering medical distress.
Stick a pin here. So he was ordered to step out of his car. After he got out, he physically resisted officers. So, okay, we all know you shouldn't resist arrest, but there's a lot of situations, a lot of times where you don't think you've done something wrong and you shouldn't be treated a certain way. So he physically resisted the officers. However, the officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs. My thing is, after you get a man into handcuffs, he's on the ground. After you get him into handcuffs, you even noted he appeared to be suffering from medical distress. After you get him into handcuffs, why do you still then keep your knee on his neck? What is the point of that? So let's read some more. Let's watch some more.
Officers called for an ambulance. He was taken to a hospital where he died a short time later. At no time were weapons of any type used by anyone involved.
Police acknowledged Floyd was unarmed. The FBI and state officials are now already investigating this incident. That's a day into it. If you watch our program, you may know that is much faster than many other such incidents where sometimes it takes more public pressure.
And, let's take a pin there. Of course, you remember the story with the young man who was jogging in the neighborhood and he was shot 3 times by an ex-policeman who suspected that he was, involved in robbery, a string of robberies that may have happened in the area, or he just suspected that he was probably casing the place to rob the place. And he approached the guy. And again, the situation with that too is if you're completely innocent, even if you're not innocent, somebody approaches you in a truck, gun drawn. How do you think you're going to react in that situation? You think that your life is probably at risk, so you're going to either fight or flight. He chose to fight, and he got shot 3 times for it. And that case was not investigated until enough pressure was put on social media for it to be looked into, for the person who did it to even be arrested. Let's continue here, though. The fortunate thing with this case, it's already been investigated. And I think the reason it's already been investigated is because it's already gone viral. It's already gone viral. It's horrendous if you see the video. Well, let's watch some more. Let's watch some more of this.
The fact that we refuse to deal with the role that race plays in the enforcement of law, we'll continue to see these instances take place. And justice is so far away for these families. There have been historical cases similar to this one that kind of give us a blueprint and a guide as the eventual outcome, perhaps, of this particular case. But it's very painful. It's very troubling, very difficult to watch. And there is more than just individuals. There is a community of individuals and civilians who are suffering behind it.
Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, released a statement in the last hour that reads, quote, George Floyd mattered. Somebody loved him. His life was important. It had value. Whenever someone dies at the hand of law enforcement or state power, we owe it to everyone affected to investigate thoroughly. I'm confident that the values of accountability, transparency, and justice will be upheld. I will be a force for them.
You got to make sure that people trust the system because the system's trustworthy. And I think that the discharge of these officers is not nearly enough, but and there will be an investigation. And I'm certain that this case will be evaluated as to whether criminal charges are appropriate. But, the system simply has to say that everybody counts, everybody matters, that nobody, particularly African-American.
Here's the thing about this whole situation, right? Is that there are 2 ways of looking at how people will react to this. There are persons that are going to protest and they're going to say, such and such, protest which is the non-violent way of trying to bring light to the situation. But what happens to the persons who don't believe in doing it non-violently? You know, are we provoking a race war or a black man versus the police sort of war in the U.S.? Anyhow.
In people, communities of color, is beneath the protection of the law, and that no law enforcement personnel is above the law. We just got to come to that conclusion. And look, this case is in part shocking because it's so routine. It's not new at all. This is a recurrent, historic, and widespread problem, and we have got to confront it.
All right, so guys, that's that story there. You know, it's very unfortunate. I'm going to see if I can try to find a video or a picture at least, so you can see how the man was, how the officer had the man. Let me see if I can put this up here. Okay, so I'm going to try to see if I can share a bit of that. So this is what it looked like. All right, this is what it looked like. Again, you can see it appears that his hand is handcuffed behind his back. You can see based on how his shoulders rotated and so on. And I don't see the reason for you to, if he's already in that situation, he may be resistant or not. I don't see the reason for you to keep your knee on his neck for an extended period of time when he's already, you know, in handcuffs. It's a sad situation, man. Anyhow, that's going to be it for this and me. I'll give you more updates in the future once there's more updates to this case.